So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to have our first panel session of the day. Now, for this, we've gathered together a panel of experts from across the industry to examine the state of the commercial vehicle sector in 2023 and indeed well beyond. Collectively, these experts bring decades of experience to discuss the major challenges confronting the sector, from the continued disruption we still see in the global supply chain, right through to the promise of digitalisation and, of course, the presence of disruptive new technologies. In such a rapidly changing market, join me, ladies and gentlemen, as we find out how the sector can help the UAE achieve its green, eco-friendly ambitions while embracing exciting new tech to make our crews safer and more efficient. And to chair this panel, I'd like to warmly welcome Stephen White back to the stage, and he will announce our valued panelists. Thank you very much indeed.
I actually, Richard, I'm really pleased you're joining us with this on next session, because Saudi's almost an event in itself. So, but I'm sure we'll touch on that in this session now. May I ask you to rejoin us on stage? But can I also ask Ketan Kumar, the National Sales Manager for Total Energies Marketing Middle East, Marek Rzinski. I don't know if I've got the pronunciation right there. The Services Director at Sky in the Middle East. And Marco Torta. I saw you earlier, Marco. The Area Manager for Gulf Area, Iraq and East Africa of VECO. So please join me in welcoming them all on stage. Once we've figured out where we're all going to sit. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, guys. I actually had a different question to start off with this, but I just want to carry on that Saudi conversation. Richard, I'll let you have 2 minutes rest. But Marco, I don't know for Iveco whether or not Saudi is an important market. I don't know if you're seeing...
Well, of course, let me say, is the major market in the area. It has always been since years, but absolutely in the past 2 years, let me say, the demand grew dramatically. Not only in terms of conventional vehicles, diesel, but now we see also a huge demand of local authorities asking mainly for electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge because we as Iveco, we have practically a full line of vehicles.
Yeah.
But the production is still limited and focused to Europe.
Yeah, I mean, with the electric vehicles themselves, is that on a particular project, or is that just across the market? Because obviously, I know that there are, like for instance, the Red Sea project is a very high-profile project where they're asking for electric vehicles. But I don't know if there's outside of those sort of specific projects whether or not there is demand for electric vehicles.
Well,
because obviously you guys do vans and everything.
Mainly the attention now is on the special projects, let me say. But it is sure that the local government, the local authorities, they are looking for the future. I think they are aware that it's something that cannot happen very fast, this is for sure. But I think they have, let me say, a deep attention on it, and they are working on it. So it's a mid-long project that definitely will happen.
I mean, Marek, you obviously represent Scania. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you have your development in lots of different areas. I don't know if you're seeing similar interest from Saudi Arabia. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not only here and now. Yeah. It's for some years ago when we see Saudi market is really strategic, and of course working with our partner there, with strong partner, investing in a network, not only in a context of the projects which are running now, which is one time, of course, staying in longer in time, but it's something specific. But we focus on the market itself in the long term, and of course it's and a long, not only on the heavy transport, but for bus transport, passenger transport. So it's really big
I mean,
opportunity and challenge as well at the same time.
I mean, I should imagine there's feeding into that market is really challenging, and it's just the volume. That figure that you said there, the 6,000 trucks, project related, and more. It's in the public domain. But I thought we've not seen anything quite like that here, probably ever, really, in this region. So not even in the boom time of the UAE, and that throws up so many questions about whether or not that market is really prepared because there's infrastructure. But from a manufacturing point of view, yeah, I mean, we're just coming out of a period where we've really struggled to actually get new trucks anywhere. So let alone sort of like the numbers. I mean, in a short time. I mean, what's actually going to happen? Because we're not going to just end up having tens of thousands of new trucks. What's really going to happen?
Depending what you call a short time,
because
you will not build Red Sea in 1 year. Of course, you need to realize how long it takes to produce vehicles. What is the inertia of the system as well. So it definitely needs to take time, and that should be a realistic planning as well. But what I don't want to say only about our brand, but what can help in that situation is the global production system. And what we have, for example, we have some kind of free capacity in Latin America production, so that is utilized, and then the production capacity is utilized for that kind of surplus of the normal, growing total market.
So you're shifting what would have been production for the South American market.
We are just optimizing, utilizing the some capacity, some flexibility of the system to produce it. But of course, you can't produce. I mean, you can't stretch so much. The production is well planned, and investment in extra production capacity is of course heavy, and it should be taken long term in understanding how we can utilize it later on, because it's cost and it's. In that sense, it's challenge, but it could be that demand could be solved by that kind of global. How to say, global approach, utilizing some kind of spare production capacity for that extra demand which is happening.
Have you had any kind of how easy is it to collaborate in terms with Saudi Arabia? Because obviously a lot of this government-owned projects, or let's say projects that are state-owned, not necessarily government-owned, but are they reaching out to you guys saying this is what we're going to need, or is it, because Saudi Arabia is not necessarily the most transparent market, is it? And things tend to need quickly when they do need to move.
Well, I think normally there's not much.
Nice, by the way, nice volunteering there, by the way, Marek.
I think no, it's. I think the gentlemen on my sides here, they know it. That customers don't normally give you a lot of notice. Yeah. So there's a project, I might get awarded it. He gets awarded it. I need the trucks now.
Yeah.
And no one can do that, of course.
That must be so frustrating, because. There can't be anything more frustrating than knowing the demand is there but not being able to meet that demand. That must be.
Have you ever thought it's easier? It's never-ending struggle in that planning of the volume for the market and what is coming in. And of course, that's what we mentioned at many occasions, either on Truck and Fleet or that Fleet Mobility Summit. Cooperation is the key.
It is the key.
If we talk about the one-time challenge or the current challenge, what we have, how to overcome it, it's only through dialogue, not really competing but cooperating. And in that sense, that brings much more efficient solution instead of fighting and cooperating directly. I mean, sitting in our offices and our silos. we need to more cooperate with authorities, with our customers.
What about
and you promised last time to call for a meeting.
We will have this meeting.
I still keep your word.
I know. I will. I do try to keep my word when I can. But we will have this meeting. I'm actually moving back to the UAE in May, so I had a chat with Daniel, who's here today. But anyway, enough of my moving. Ketan, are you excited by the Saudi market? Are you?
From what Marek and Marco mentioned now, they are the producers.
Yeah.
But we are.
What about for you guys?
Yes, but we are of course gearing up because there's surge in demand.
Yeah.
See, we make a lot of genuine oils. We see a lot of demand coming up. And we see more demand coming up for the synthetic ones.
Yeah.
So we know the market is getting up. We know that, yes, so we also have a blending plant in Saudi. Previously we used to manage it from UAE, but now we have a separate plant in Saudi. So this is all we're getting up for the future and the development is going to come in.
And you just mentioned specifically synthetic oils there. Why particularly those? What's that? What does that demonstrate? What's that?
See, Stephen, is mostly driven by OEMs. We can see here, the gentleman to my left. So these are the ones who are actually driving the need.
Yeah.
So if you see for Iveco now, you're asking for synthetic 520, 530, which is like, which was not thought of, imagined in the truck industry. Yeah. And the same goes for Scania.
Yeah.
So they are also talking for a 10W30. No, the convention ones, the convention ones is a 1540, which is basically more of a mineral oil.
Yeah.
But these days, slowly and steadily, we're seeing that the shift is happening.
Oh,
that's interesting.
15W40 is a past, to be honest.
It's a past.
It's now when we talk about Scania Super, that the new driveline which we launched, in the context of sustainability, and efficiency of the transport as well. I mean, then we talk about much stricter demand for Scania required oil. Of course, impacting in positive way, longer intervals, so it's less waste, it's more uptime for customers. That's really the direction. But at the same time, of course, it will be less oil changes, which is very positive for customer.
I know we ask this almost every conference, but are we seeing further interest in better uptime, further interest in lower maintenance intervals? Are we?
But how will you address question about sustainability in long term? What should that mean for transport company? It's all about the hardware. I mean, how to maintain the hardware to keep it utilized to maximum. And the second, drivers. That's what we say about safety, but about efficiency. We heard about shortage of drivers. How do we build a solution on daily basis to keep those drivers in the loop, to give them real feedback in real time, to make them operating better, that equipment. It's very, very big investment for a company on very big scale, how to manage it, how to really maximize the utilization of it by proper. The key person behind the steering wheel.
Of course. It's one of the classic things. Essentially, is that the headlines are always about electric vehicles and alternative fuels, all that sort of thing. But I actually think that really the biggest gains right now actually aren't in those. Those biggest gains are actually just making sure that the vehicles that we have right now are being used in the most efficient way. Mark, I don't know if you guys are sort of seeing any change in maybe in the UAE, but anywhere in terms of fleet habits, taking their truck care more seriously, driver training more seriously. Obviously, you yourselves have also just launched a new vehicle.
Let me say, true that the new technologies are supporting, of course, the environment and our customers. But if I have to be a bit ironic, drivers sometimes are not very happy about the technology. Because
how do you know a driver? When do you know a driver's not happy? What do they start doing?
No, the problem is that they are very much controlled now. The ECU of the vehicles record all the performance of the vehicles, so you have an historic. and you can see black and white what the driver is doing, how long is working, how much fuel is consuming, how long is resting on the road. So, of course...
so essentially, there's a lot more scrutiny on the drivers.
Absolutely.
And they're aware of that.
Absolutely.
So it's not a case of just, that they kind of... sometimes you have to put yourself in that position, don't you? You sort of think, well, actually, you've just been told that you've got this lovely, shiny new truck, and by the way, it's going to know exactly what you had for breakfast, what you're going to have for lunch, how you drove to get there.
I don't say, but I visit a customer that they have a control room, and they not only check where the vehicles are, how much they are consuming, but they put 5 cameras in each vehicle.
5?
5. 2 inside and 3 outside to check what the drivers are doing.
So this isn't for, obviously we'd like to have Thomas here, and he's probably one of the experts in terms of safety. This isn't about safety, this is just making sure that that the drivers are behaving themselves.
Very important point. What is the what is the purpose of applying that kind of control measures? If it's for, we should clearly communicate what is it for. It's not for really supervising driver and punishing him. It's like like if you take comparison to the pilot of Boeing or Jumbo Jet. And he will be upset because the black box is registering each and every movement of him. Come on, it's for. Of course, in the air in the air transport, it's about safety first of all. Here, we should clearly address it's about efficiency, improving driver. Being successful as a company, as a transport company or any operator, just for showing drivers that their important role. Of course, it's a long journey. But where to start? That should be the building that mindset on each and every level, and that's the really key person.
So I believe in that. That's assuming you can get the drivers in the first place. That is. I know.
But you need push and pull factors, don't you? Because the black box is recording the things after he's done something wrong. The idea being he doesn't do something wrong. So you need to also motivate him. That he's interested to look after the vehicle.
You do see, obviously, quite a few, we'll talk to TriStar later, but you do see a lot of fleets now, obviously, have embraced the idea of rewarding the drivers by monitoring the driver, having ways of actually grading their performance, competitions within driving teams to sort of work out who's the best driver and those sorts. Those things are happening in some fleets, but just not everywhere. So,
True.
I don't know if there's any particular sector. I always assume the oil and gas sector is quite progressive, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how that compares with like the logistics sector or construction. I don't know if there's any difference between these individual sectors in terms of how they're training their drivers.
We actually, part of our CSR activities, we do a lot of driver training, basically safety tips, safety driving, defensive driving, these sort of things which we do it in association with Dubai Police. The idea is again not to, it's to empower them with these safety features which are required for the, because driving habits has an impact on the maintenance as well, on the life of the truck.
Of course,
So this is where we come in and say, yes, this is long. See, for example, the transformation from a mineral oil to a synthetic is a long drain interval, like what Marek mentioned. So they're not used to this, driving habits, the long drains. Instead of coming every 15 days for an oil change, you come for a month. So they're not used to this kind of culture. They're all the trainings we give. Our team gives this.
But once they understand that, there must be benefits for them.
Focusing on from the owner's perspective, it's more on the total cost of ownership. We say that, okay, yes, today you're using maybe a higher priced product like oil, synthetic oil, but then it gives you longer drain. So you don't have your uptime is improved. And definitely the life of the equipment is better because these are all special oils which is designed.
Exactly, and it's got to be a good thing, isn't it, if the truck's going for longer. The other thing as well is that I want to talk about is we've seen high fuel costs relatively high, let's put this in context, relatively high fuel costs here in the region. I don't know if that is having an impact in terms of the way that fleets are managing themselves, or possibly like the way that the conversations you're now having with, I guess in some ways would be the customers, distributors, and then also their and I don't know if fuel is actually being a factor. Has it been high enough for long enough, and now for fleets to be concerned by it? Does that affect their buying choices? Are they interested in low fuel cost solutions, or?
Well, definitely, despite the price of the diesel in the area is reasonably good compared to European.
Yeah.
Is absolutely a factor, because a logistic company a truck can run for 200,000-300,000 kilometers every year. So it is logic to pay a big attention on the consumption. I think the electronic now is supporting a lot to reduce the consumption of the vehicles. I'm convinced that the drivers must be educated and they have to learn how to drive a truck of today that is not the same of 10 years ago.
Do you ever find yourself driving along, see a Veco truck, and you think that driver does not know how to drive that truck, or a Scania truck? Do you ever sort of sit there and you think, oh, how are they using our truck like that? Or,
one very easy sample is the transmission. In the past, the transmission for heavy trucks was manual. And when we as European manufacturers introduced the automated or the automatic one, the drivers they don't want to accept. No,
but the crazy thing about that was that there was a genuine reluctance in the market for people to actually make the transition from manual to. It's actually one of those cases where actually I was told that it's the drivers didn't like them. So like a fleet wouldn't buy the truck because the drivers didn't like the automatic transmission.
Automatic transmission?
It's just automated or automatic.
It's a little bit probably, the mental block of losing control on the vehicle, which is not the fact. We have more and more systems which really advise much better how to operate the vehicle than what we believe in, and that we are so skilled and on so high level. So in average, it's much bigger improvement if we really rely on the automatic. But even with that, we maybe take out one of the parameters from that scoring, let's say scoring result of driver, but he still needs to anticipate when to use brakes, how quickly to brake, how to lose the speed to gain it again, to accelerate, because still that is in the control of driver. So they need to understand what is even the basic physics of it, and what is the impact. And you ask, is it still focused on that fuel saving or optimizing? Of course, it's big enough part of cost to find some savings, and knowing that on driver behavior, of course, the main factor which influencing the fuel consumption is how much load we carry. So you can't cheat physics. It's quite obvious.
Cheat physics.
That's really
that ties in with Paul's intro.
That's really obvious. The relation.
But they do try. They do try.
But for drive, we start from the most obvious improvement points which we can achieve. And with Scania driver support, what we had, that algorithm of, you can always have benchmark of, some ranking. Even with the same operation, you have the best driver, we have the let's say, the last on the list. And by improving those from the lower part of the list, you can have significant impact. And from driver behavior, believe me or not, but that can, the fuel consumption is related in 15% to the driver behavior. So that's the scale, that's the marginal.
So essentially, that compares favorably when we talk about sort of quite often with a new truck, like 8% is a good improvement. It's all about fuel economy over the previous models and the previous engines.
8% from super, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But within that, it's always that part related to driver is up to 15%.
Yeah.
Of course, if you have very good driver, you will have a little bit tiny, space to improve. But for the ones in the lower part of the list, as I said, it's up to around 10, 15, depending on the driver. And of course, if you improve all of them, the average is coming up. So it's a little bit more challenging. But again, about fleet management systems, no data, no improvement. With the basic rule of the business, if you can't measure, you can't improve. And all the collecting data from cameras or whatever, one is safety, of course, but the second is to get really understanding what is the way of operating, where do we lose time, maybe not cameras, but all the operational data from truck which is coming.
Do fleets take, I mean, I know that obviously this, as far as I'm aware, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, often actually what they're offered is they're offered like a data, let's call it a data package like a mobile phone, but essentially they'll pay for a service that gets monitored in another location, whether or not that's Scania or Iveco or something, and they can feed back that, like the stuff that they're learning, or they do this internally. So are fleets opting into these tracking, tracing programs that you guys offer? Because I'm not convinced.
I can say, you can probably elaborate more what is the management system of fleet, probably from your perspective. So that is very complex area, I should say. Not only optimizing the vehicle performance, but the utilization of the transport.
I mean, the potential is massive, isn't it?
How much air is transported in trailer? How to optimize, the route of the transport. So that's huge space for optimizing it. I don't know what is the utilization of transport units, or do you measure it? How do you optimize? Because it really requires. I know there are systems which measure how much space of trailer is used. Cameras, radars. You measure how much space you have inside, and how much and of course it need to be collected in one report. Let's say. To analyze it, to optimize it, to reroute it, to change maybe the order quantities or the batches of transport. But that requires to talk from transport company to their customer to say, don't give me 20 pallets, give me 32 pallets or 33, which gives me the full trailer. That will, stepping back. You can really have the full utilization with lower cost, bigger economy.
I mean, if
utilization is join all the steps to really understand the whole flow, and then you have space for optimizing it.
Yes. Adding on the fuel economy part, today we are more in the need of the hour today. Even we are developing products, engine oils for commercial purposes, which result in savings of fuel economies,
But how good the savings? Are they?
Okay, basically these are all products which are, of course, made with the technologies that will keep the engine more cleaner. So the emissions are more cleaner. That thereby they have better fuel economy. We claim in some of our products up to 1.5% fuel economy.
Sorry, how much?
1 to 1.5%.
I thought you said 100%.
No, but this is something in a bigger fleet.
Significant. In a big fleet, huge saving.
Yes. So there's a need of the hour. Everyone's getting up towards it. That's the topic today.
No, exactly. Just obviously we've run out of time, but we'll carry on anyway. But the issue, obviously, Richard touched upon this, was the fact there was a problem with supply of vehicles, just generally globally. I guess, do you see that as well as like that problem is ending, or are we still on a long lead time in terms of supplying? And just generally speaking, what's that done to the general cost? I know you can't talk specifically about cost, but the cost of trucks themselves. Will fleets start to see the cost coming down? Just anybody want to take that one? I don't know. Are we seeing improvement in terms of the supply chain or the supply of trucks?
I can say from my perspective, from my business area, which I can see, what I notice, what is going down on the cost side is a little bit, transport and logistics. That what I clearly see in my responsibility area and services. When we have, parts, logistics, then we can notice some drop. But in general, regarding the supply chain, I mean, limitations or the shortages challenges, it's still there. So I don't think we can expect and the growing demand. I mean, I try to look into numbers before that conference. With the production, the results of all the manufacturers. You saw they are going above the volumes which were before COVID. So it's like record high, and it's still not enough. You see, I mean, because
the demand has been pent up, isn't it?
The end of it. So how can you expect that with the raw material will go down, or with all the disruption it costs as well extra for all manufacturers to handle it, to manage it.
Yeah, because essentially everyone has the same problem, don't they?
And supply demand. If you have high demand, that you can. I mean, from basics of economy.
Yeah. No,
it's the physics of economy.
It's the physics. Physics again. Thanks, Paul. There's just one more last question. I know we're sort of running out of time, but obviously it is the year of sustainability in the UAE. And I just thought possibly it'd be just interesting to have a very quick discussion about how you guys, but also the transport logistics sector in itself, or transportation sector in itself, can actually make a meaningful contribution. Because obviously there's a danger when you hear something like that, year of sustainability. It's great, sounds lovely, but what can we do to make a meaningful impact?
On sustainability, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I say, optimizing the utilization of transport in many aspects. The second, of course, is fuels, short term, here and now. What kind of fuels, really, solutions regarding fuel are really sustainable and can bridge the period to electric vehicles, which we believe is that solution for the future. But then we will ask, I hope we will ask early enough ourselves, is the electricity clean, what we will use for the vehicles?
The interesting thing about that, the interesting thing about that is that, I mean, obviously I hear lots of things, but I know, I was at Middle East Energy last week and I was surprised just about the amount of stuff that can't be shared right now publicly, but are underway in terms of the actual infrastructure for electric vehicles. Lots of things that are actually happening. And possibly with the COP28 meeting coming out might be.
You're absolutely right. It's not about product. It's about really applying it for certain solutions and have partnership with local, let's say, authorities, with customer to really build solution for it. Because it's not about bringing electric vehicles.
No, you need. You can't. It's just the end of the vicious cycle. Sorry, Richard.
But it's partly product related. And I can tell you, because from a shipping perspective, we need a different process, we need special approvals, we need to discuss with the shipping line if we want to ship electric vehicles. Of course. It's not the same. And there have been examples already where the vehicles on board the ship already catch fire or present a hazard. Yeah.
What, because of the batteries?
Yes, and the same reasons why airlines are so careful about lithium batteries.
Yeah, lithium batteries particularly,
So there are some challenges.
Absolutely. And it's not a standard solution yet. It's special treatment for handling batteries, absolutely. It should be dedicated space in the warehouse with certain conditions. It's really very much restricted. So in that sense, we need to learn how to make it normal, how to make it standard.
I just want to add one more thing, Stephen, here on this discussion. There is also, of course, emerging, especially in Europe, is about the renewable fuels, the biodiesel.
Yeah.
So there are discussions. We are getting inquiries now that, because today some of the OEMs are recommending biodiesels.
Yes, they are,
so there's something which could also help in the environment.
And that's great to hear, because we have gas engines, and if you have biogas, it's absolutely a very positive impact on that, on that footprint.
So we're running out of time. I just want to bring Marco into that. Sorry, guys, into that discussion. Obviously, you guys are also doing in those when we talk about alternative fuels, biogas. You guys and gas. Absolutely. You guys are also doing things. Are you seeing potential here that you've maybe not seen before?
I believe that CNG or LPG vehicles absolutely can improve the quality of the environment.
Yeah.
I feel that anyway in GCC countries there is no a big interest in
It's
this
surprising.
kind
I
of.
thought Qatar might. I thought Qatar might be an earlier
Yeah,
adopter,
but
no.
even them, I mean, they are not going full speed. Let me say they have a lot of resources, but I mean they are very very slow in improving this.
You're right.
Yeah, this activity.
But
Marcus, what you said,
CNG is still a fossil fuel, so we need to understand what is the source of gas,
Correct.
or the classic CNG.
But
if it's biogas, that's perfect.
Yes,
that's
perfect.
really the
And
solution.
also hydrogen fuel is also being, many OEMs are working on that.
Yeah, well, I think we'll actually talk about hydrogen, I think, a little bit later, but there's lots of potential in that particular field. We have run out, we are far over time, gentlemen, but it's a great discussion. I don't know if there's any sort of members of our audience want to ask our panel any questions.
I'd like to just sort of kick things off with a question for yourself, in fact, Steve. I was fascinated by the remark you said about, drivers potentially not wanting automatic gearboxes because they feel they don't have the control. I thought that argument belonged like somewhere back in the 1980s.
Not here, no. I mean, obviously that changed, that did change.
Yeah, because if
about
you look
6-7 years ago, but it was, but
if you look
before
at,
then,
say, performance cars where people, treasured that control, I don't think BMW even market a manual gearbox. I don't think Porsche actually, they'll probably sue me for saying this, but I don't think Porsche actually market on the GT3 and GT4. I don't think you can even get a manual box.
No, it's changed.
So hasn't this market moved on?
No, the interesting thing about it is it just typifies. Laughing. Actually, I'll let Marek answer this. But there is classically, some people have, a lot of people haven't. Anyway, Marek.
Yeah, it's a little bit, about that automated gear changing or automatic gearbox. When I started in Scania 30 years ago, it was, CAG, computer-aided gear changing, is the top of the class of some super modern solution.
I remember
and
seeing
the manual
that in the
was the
brochure.
historical.
I remember seeing it.
So CAG was that, computer-aided gear changing, and then it came in OptiCruise. It evolved to OptiCruise, which is the current system, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, whatever, the most advanced. The number of sensors on the vehicle is, growing. And it became standard because before it was much more expensive to get that CG, the automatic gear changing. And that was probably the base for the traditional way of, manual shifting. Yeah. Because automatic gearbox was much more expensive, like it was in passenger cars as well, as I remember. At least in my region, when I come from.
We went
so this economy, which was a driver, and then, shifting to the scale of economy of that automatic, and impact on the final result. Competing on what is the output of the vehicle, what is the performance. That broad decision probably of completely shifting to automatic gear changing model, not necessarily automatic gearbox, because it's still in Scania, it's manual gearbox with full efficiency, of transferring the torque, but fully computerized gear changing
because
system.
You totally agree, because you need a system, because you cannot afford catastrophic loss of transmission. So you need a system that gives you the best of both worlds. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. You understand, it's just whether or not drivers do. Are there any more questions?
Any more questions at all, please?
Oh, gentlemen at the back. Two gentlemen at the back.
Hello. Yeah. So I see a big push, and it has been for quite some time with the OEM truck manufacturers for reducing weight and moving towards sustainability. Do you also see the same push with the trailer manufacturers and bodybuilders to reduce their weight to also, I think, because I feel that still needs to catch up to do the overall, let's say, weight reduction. So that's my first question. And my second question is regarding the electric vehicles. Do you see the challenges basically also in the infrastructure building for servicing the products? Or is there a push by the OEMs to actually see how that's going to be? Because at the end, that should also be there. You have the vehicles here, but how are you going to service them in the future?
So there's two questions there. One is
About trailers?
While I can't resist the idea of trailers being left behind because they're always behind, but that's a good joke there. But so are we seeing similar developments on trailer side? And the other side, just as I understand it, is coming back to the infrastructure, getting infrastructure in place for electric vehicles, and what the challenges we're facing there. So,
regarding trailers, I'm not very much in details, but what we hear, it's really big R&D work to develop trailers, and it's even in context of that, electrify. A combination of truck and trailer with some solution for electric motors in the axles of trailers to give support for as a drive line, to include trailer and drive line. So of course it's a long journey to go probably, but for sure optimizing of the rolling resistance, the air drag. Optimizing the space, but we need to address that question to trailer manufacturers. Probably they would be happy to unveil all the work which is happening.
I know that, for
currently.
instance, Daimler have done work with, I think, Schmidt's Carnival, but I know that that is happening, quite a lot of work. And obviously the opportunity there with the trailers is that there's quite literally quite a lot of the vehicle is gathering data somewhere else that's not on the main tractor head. So I think there's a lot of work there. There are limitations, I assume, in terms of what you can and can't do.
We have time for two more questions. Thomas, I know you're dying to ask one. Come right
What's another
back to
question
you.
as well?
And gentleman at the back first, and then Thomas. I know you're very keen to ask a question too, sir.
I know this is a question time, but I'm afraid maybe I will end up putting some suggestions instead of the question. Probably. In that case, you have to forgive me. Anyway, that we are talking about a lot of alternative fuel solutions, but diesel is also a very good sustainable fuel actually, but only when it is not burned. That is the thing. So I'm just asking, we have we can see in the market, for the electric equipments, there is a starring system based on the energy consumption. And commercial vehicle is one of the, even I think it's introduced even for the cars. You can see the stars depending on the fuel consumption. So can we expect something like that for the commercial vehicle, which is one of the major source of pollution actually. So is there any sort of rating based on the fuel consumption of the existing diesel trucks or something we can expect? Even the authorities can come up with some of this type of grading system?
Apologies, it wasn't quite clear because of the microphone, but in terms of, as far as I understand it, this might be your specialty, in terms of emissions and gradings and ratings of for not electric, but sort of other biofuels, and is that correct? Alternative fuels.
In terms of emissions, because emission control, you mean the government?
No, consumption, diesel consumption. For example, if you go to a supermarket, if you want to buy a refrigerator, you can see some stars on that based on the energy consumption actually.
And
so that would be useful.
Energy efficiency, something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Like a green bar.
That's what we have on passenger cars already. Or on tires. That is coming, but not.
From the lubricant perspective, like I mentioned, if we have in some products we have claims. This much percentage of fuel savings, like that. Of course, it sounds small, 1.5, but we have such claims which has been tested, and we don't put something unless it is tested and tried. So that's from the lubricant perspective. But from the
should there be a standard, like in Europe, for instance, you've got this green
being
standard.
the influential people, I know this is what my suggestion.
It'd be useful, wouldn't it?
We can try to bring something like that, some grading system.
I think it's more. From our perspective, Scania brand, or an understanding industry as well. It's much more possible when you have really. Because it's important how do you measure, and that in that sense, for passenger car refrigerators, you have limited, or the average way of using it. But for truck, how should we measure it? If it's going uphill, downhill, with the load, 40%, 60%.
Also for trucks, you have. In cars, maybe you have in a range 5-6 cars. In trucks, maybe you have 1,000 different combinations
customization
of tire size, rim size.
Every
which
fleet owner, every
using
application is different. But that just because it's difficult doesn't mean that we shouldn't try and at least aspire to it. But I guess a lot of the time it should be sort of in terms of like in country there should be like the rating system should be at least in place. I mean, obviously, like Euro 5 is an obvious one, but you know, like it should be
emission level, yeah. But that's normalized and it's clear how to measure and what we pay for or we have benefit on.
Yeah.
So
and let's move. Sorry, we haven't had Thomas yet, and we've got.
And the gentleman, we'll have gentlemen just here, then Thomas, and then we have to unfortunately move on. But please, we'd love your question, please, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, unlike in long haulage transport, especially in big construction projects, most of the trucks are driven in close traffic environment at low speeds. Might there be here an opportunity for an early introduction of autonomous vehicle in the construction truck segment? What do you think?
Autonomous?
I mean, yes. I mean, considering the truck driver availability and efficiency problems.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of work in that area, certainly on sites.
Yeah, on site, yes.
In terms of mining operations as well. But I don't know, sorry, just the question there is about, you know, could we see some autonomous vehicles being used, particularly in these sorts of environments?
Well, as far as I know, there are studies, I mean, with the vehicle we are studying the autonomous drive, but not on construction side, more on on-road operations, so long haulage. On construction, I think is a bit complicated.
Because you've got, what's this? I can't remember what the system is, but haven't you got this system where, like in Europe, where actually I've tried this thing, that actually you kind of cruise control. Well, I can't remember what it's called now, but basically it's almost hands off.
Yeah.
Kind of cruise control.
Yeah.
Which is an incredible system actually, but that's not a plug. It's just I was just really impressed with it. Marek, sorry.
Yeah, we have in Scania autonomous solutions, but it so much depends on the operation. Construction site, yes, if it's predictable, repeatable, operation for truck, then you can really define the route. And it's happening in the minings. I know that in the mining operation, which is sort of construction, we can compare it. It's closest probably to that operation type. We have autonomous solutions. We have in the ports in Singapore. That was a very early project what we entered, and it's there. So technology is there. It's only the scale, how to utilize, and how to really how the operation fits those current requirements on technical side.
And I think the interesting thing is that in this market, there is a genuine interest. I think there's genuine interest. One thing I want to talk to you about is quite a while ago, there's quite a lot of talk about pontooning and the benefits of that for long haul, but we don't seem to see as much.
Platooning.
Platooning, yeah. We don't seem to see as much.
Maybe in Saudi, that's the solution.
Yeah.
Because it's, that depends on the road, how to say,
Yeah, particularly those long highways.
Easiest, of course,
perfect,
is to, with dedicated lanes, that's probably that's the future,
Yeah. Thomas.
At least for part of the high scale transport. Yeah.
Yeah. Thomas, you've been waiting very patiently.
Thank you for waiting, Thomas.
I'm patient, no worries. Well, I always enjoy talking and listening to the future and what's possible today. We're talking about technology, about sustainability, about COP28, all these beautiful opportunities and also realities. I would say small realities. Because when I go to Jebel Ali, then I see the reality. When we're going on the highways, we see the trucks with these big black clouds coming out of the exhausts. That's the reality. Again, we're talking a little bit about the future. Now, my question to the panel is, do we have any creative ideas to leapfrog and to go quickly from today to tomorrow?
So what can we do to improve? It's a very interesting point that actually, because part of the problem actually is knowing how many of those trucks, those sorts of trucks you're talking about, are in the market, and of a few. But actually, how do we? There's lots of different ways it is regulated. And it's interesting. We talked about Saudi limiting like the age, but we've got an age limit here, haven't we? So 20 years. I don't know if that's sort of rigorous enough. Actually, I think possibly.
Saudi is currently on Euro 3 as a legal demand. So yes, I mean, there are parts of the world which they talk about Euro 7. And we all know which touch the topic of the emission class. What is the huge gap between Euro 3 and Euro 6, which is, I mean, the common technology in Europe and many places in the world. So, but I mean, so technology is there. I mean, I was smiling a little bit when you're asking questions, but not about the question, about Stephen's promise that we'll have that roundtable meeting, because we need to talk to authorities, to municipalities, have dialogue. But the better we connect each other, the better we understand what are pros, what are cons, what is the limitation of saying, one day, from tomorrow on, we go for Euro 6. And product is there. We have all products Euro 6, and now a discussion is happening about Euro 7 in Europe.
I think a roadmap. So you
just last point. Governing councils bodies are there. For example, I think Euro 4 is a minimum standard now.
Yes.
In UAE.
Practically, we deliver Euro 5.
And then for the lubricants, we have ESMA, which is an organization which definitely has standards for the minimum standards today. It is low actually, it's old technology, but it has to move fast as much as it moves from the Euro engines. The oil technology also has to move. So we used to have very old technologies of the 70s, maybe 10 years back. It changed now, but still there's a lot to go. It all depends from the authorities who are governing today.
I mean, my personal feeling on it, I mean, you shouldn't really say this, but my personal feeling is that we're in the UAE market is now a mature market in lots of different ways, and I think that is a good time to start talking about what you're talking about. Looking maybe at the enforcement regulation of emissions at a professional fleet level, and how do authorities police that, but also how do, as an industry, we self-police that as well. So, I think Marius' point there, actually a bit more dialogue, a bit more kind of coordinated effort, I think, at all levels really, to actually get this thing. But I mean, you've got experience this from the safety side. It's that engagement that I think can actually make a real difference. So
maybe I can just say, something that's close to your heart, safety-wise, because it's also a matter of how you police this, how you check these things. Because just to give you an example, I dealt with a company before who has 40, 50 trucks. He has, for these trucks, one set of new tires. He has to go every year once to the RTA. So this set of tires goes once on every vehicle, gets passed, comes back, thank you. But this doesn't solve anything. Right? And then they drive the rest of the trucks on the road until the tires...
I mean, we're laughing, but that's a serious problem.
It's a big problem because they know the tires need to be replaced when it's exploded. And it's all over the highway and you run over it with your car.
I mean, Tom, I mean, in terms of not the third party, but on the spec, like police stopping trucks, I mean, is that still happening? That there was this push, say 10 years ago, to sort of make sure that the random stopping of trucks and the police were actually checking tires.
We are not aware that it is happening on a big scale.
Yeah.
What we are doing, for example, with Bridgestone, who is also one of your supporters here, and they're also on the platform. So we are working with them and with ITC in Abu Dhabi to conduct truck safety checks. So we have done 3 last year, and we are working on the first one past Ramadan. So there is a goodwill from the government, but the push has to come from our side. So the push has to come from the industry. And the offer has to come from the industry.
I think often actually it's that trap, isn't it? It's classic. One waiting for one group to do something. But But
it's not specific for the region. What I mean, that kind of finding savings, let's say, because if you go to Germany or to Poland, when I come from, I mean, one of the most powerful, authority on the road is dedicated for the transport inspection. And they are, I mean, the drivers are even more scared to, the BAG or whatever, ITD in Poland, when they are stopped, because then the truck is really, it's stricter control than in the end of the manufacturing line, on the production line. They really check everything. And that's really, it's not one pre-planned annual inspection. It's really a random check and a random and a very high penalty. So it's about that kind of, and probably it will come here as well, because the awareness about safety is very high on authority side. We shouldn't say it's not. It is very much. I mean, expecting to have safe traffic. So it will eventually come, and but the dialogue, of course, we can accelerate it. And the most important is to have some kind of roadmap as well for all of us. I mean, to know that in 3 years, in 5 years, something is expected, because that eventually will happen. And it helps us to plan as well on our side.
100%. I'm so sorry, we're going to have to stop that conversation. I know that gentleman over there.
So please,
is it a quick question?
No,
it's not a quick
sorry,
question.
we have to move on. So please.
Okay, answer. Okay, just quickly. We have an answer. So we don't have a question. We have an answer.
Huge round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen, for our panelists.
We have one.
Wait.
Thank you.
We have one man here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Mr. Thomas. Coming back to your point about emissions, I think there is a need of an awareness to be given to the fleets, because I have seen trucks being fined 1,000 dirham for black smoke on the road. I have seen myself, because I am in this industry. Now, you know, as Total is pushing on the synthetic oils, maintenance, OEMs are coming with the intervals, there is a need to maintain your fuel system, which is conducting your injectors inspection, taking care of your fuel pump, and how is the trim ratio taking place in your vehicle. You know, most of the time what we do is, when we see a smoke, we take an action. It's a corrective action. Instead of that, it has to go preventive. If we can make a standard that once the truck touches 50,000 kilometers or 2 years, it has to go for a decarbonizing, where you clean the injectors. It is just a 60-minute time. You know very well what BG Products is offering. It's a 60 minutes of a service which can take care of all the injectors without removing it, take care of the fuel pump, take care of the fuel filter, just make it as a routine. Then you will not see that smoke.
Okay, thanks, Gagan. Right, so let's end it there. Thank you very much, panel. Thank you. We are a little bit over time, but hopefully it's worth it. So thank you.
I think you definitely have time for a group photo, though. Let's have a group photo.
Very quickly.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to have to take a picture now as well.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm still mic'd up, so I won't complain too much. Are we...
So before we begin our next presentation, I'd just like to mention the point that Thomas has just made. Thomas Edelman made a very interesting point about, you know, the apparent contradiction between the reality and the regulatory theory. And Thomas, I just wanted to mention that last week, for instance, in this same venue, we had our Access and Handling Summit, whereby we spend a lot of time talking about the use of safety-first platforms, MUPs, you know, electrically operated working platforms, and how preferable they are to scaffolding. And no sooner we had the event than the next day I was walking past a construction site round the back of Clock Tower in Dera, and there was a 20-meter stack of rickety scaffolding held together with odd bits of wood screwed in place and now in place. And I was thinking, yes, there is indeed the theory and there is the reality. So I know exactly what you're referring to. So thank you very much, panelists. I thought that was goes without saying that was a very engaging, very provocative panel.